Do you think our brains follow like an algorithm, a bit like Instagram and Facebook?
I think so. I think our brains are a bit like computers.
They are, aren't they?
That's what we're going to be talking about in
Get Real with the English Sisters.
Join us for the podcast that gives you anxiety relief with smiles.
And if you like this podcast, please follow and share with your friends. And you can watch us on YouTube too.
Yeah, and come and say hello on Instagram.
Come and say hello.
You can comment on the episode too. So let's get started. Let's get into the nitty gritty of computers.
Computers and these algorithms. And I don't really understand enough about algorithms because, that's like neuroscience and it's very technical. The algorithms in our brains and how they exactly work. But one thing I have noticed is that what you focus on, it's like, for example, I got a yellow car once. Do you remember that weird yellow car? I'd never seen a bright yellow car like that before in my life. The moment I got that yellow car, I started noticing yellow cars all over the place.
Was it the same brand of yellow car?
Not necessarily. They were just yellow cars. I was thinking, same colour. And I was just like, and that's the very first time I noticed what the brain does, that it's not like these yellow cars didn't exist. It's that I was deleting them because they were not of any concern to me.
So like you weren't noticing them?
Wasn't noticing them.
I don't know if our brain actually has algorithms. I know that computers do.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't really want to say I'm knowledgeable enough to understand that, but
because
what I meant, is like, like Facebook and Instagram do. And if you like something, like on Instagram, you like a little cat video, then you will get many more cat videos coming along on your feed.
Yes.
And because you noticed it, thus then afterwards they give you that info. They send you those.
They send you the same of the same. Same old, same old.
Not just same old, same old. You know what I mean? Come on. I mean, everyone listening knows what I'm talking about.
It's like an advert, you mean?
Yeah, they're not necessarily like adverts. Like if you like a reel of a cat doing something funny, then afterwards you'll see lots of cats. Now that I've got these 2 rescue cats, whenever I go on Instagram, for some reason, I seem to see lots of cat things.
Do you actually search for
cats? Of course not. I probably just I liked a couple of cat things that made me laugh. Because when I used to have a dog, maybe I clicked dog things. I don't know. And now it randomly comes up. Randomly. It's not random at all. There is an algorithm, and it's
the CEO.
It's been selected to give me.
Those are the cookies that follow you around.
Exactly. So, yeah, I don't know what they're called, cookies.
So, do you think we have cookies in our brain then?
Probably got them in our tummies. I don't know. Yes. What I do and what I've come to understand is the brain is an incredible deleting machine.
Yeah, I think it's a bit like a computer.
Yeah, and it has to delete, otherwise we would have an overwhelm of information coming in. Because you don't necessarily like now. I've never seen a yellow car again, and probably now tomorrow I'll probably see one because I'm talking about it again.
Well, now that you've got this new white car, I've noticed I've never seen them before. I've never seen the brand, and now on the way home I saw like 4 or 5 yesterday.
There you go.
And I hadn't even noticed them.
You don't notice it before, no.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? I think that's the danger of it, though. I think that's when it can cause anxiety. Because if you're focusing on something negative, then you're going to keep seeing negative things.
Yeah, that's the whole thing, yeah. And you might not get to see the rainbows and the nice stuff.
And you're not gonna notice what's good. So there was a tip that, I don't know who said it, so I heard it on a podcast somewhere. And they said that if you're noticing negative things, you have to say, it's raining today, it's cold today, and it's yucky today, but hey, we're getting water for the planet or something.
Yeah.
So you have to say a but, and then you have to say something positive after it.
Like even when you're internally
Yeah,
sort
when
of
you're
like
noticing,
moaning to yourself.
noticing negative things, you say the list of them. You notice that all the negative stuff, but then you have to look for a positive within that negative, and
Actually
that'll help
search.
break the pattern. It will help break that kind of algorithm of negativity that you've got going on.
Yeah, because negativity and this kind of maybe kind of depressing anxiety focused thinking can be like a habit.
Well, it becomes something. It just becomes part of you,
Yeah.
and you don't notice you're doing it. That's a scary thing, really.
Yeah.
You don't notice it's happening to you, and it just is, because that's
That
that's
you just
the
think-
algorithms that you're running in your brain.
Exactly. That's a kind of
So those are the cookies that are following you.
yeah. I mean, who would want to follow that consciously? Who would ever want to do that, really? But we don't realize that we do it, really.
Well, as the therapist, we know it's the unconscious mind that just takes over.
Yeah.
So
So
it's an unconscious process. So until you bring it into consciousness, you're not aware of it.
no, you're not aware of it. No.
So if you notice that you're doing that, just bring it to your awareness, and then maybe add the positive thing in.
That's a good piece of advice. Yeah. I'm thinking it's raining, but I went shopping this morning, food shopping, and I thought, oh God, it was raining. It wasn't very nice. But then I thought, gosh, I'm lucky to be able to buy food. I actually said that to myself. Stop moaning. I'm lucky to be able to get food. And then afterwards, I'm going to do a nice podcast with Violetta.
Yeah.
Which is something fun,
So
which
was
I
it
find
good?
inspiring. Yeah, so I just sort of kind of naturally do this. I think it's probably something, we both learnt to do when we first started, our studies with hypnotherapy. And now it's so unconscious, I don't even realise I'm doing it. But it's certainly a nicer way to live your life when you do have these kind of inputs coming in.
I think it's a more positive way to live your life, and it helps you because you feel as if you're living more in a position of like gratitude. You're living in more of instead of in lack. You're it's more of
Yeah.
there's like more abundance in it.
Yeah, because if you think about it, the nasty stuff it's
always there.
It's there all the time, and if you just focus on it, like you're always going to watch the news, and that's going to bring a lot of sadness into your life and anxiety. Then if you follow things like that on Insta and on Facebook and wherever you get your stuff, then that's going to be feeding your brain with that stuff as well. And so in the end,
And so it's like what you said yesterday when you were talking to me. It's not really your story. It's their story. It's not what's happening to you right now.
no, it's overwhelming.
Yes.
It's either world situations. Okay, if you are in a position of power and in government, and you can take positive steps, and even if you're not in a position of power, you can do something active. If that's really where you want to take your life and your story. But if that's not, then in the end, you're just overwhelmed by it, I think. And that overwhelm causes anxiety, deep down, rooted sense of uncertainty, anxiety in the world.
And that spreads, I think. That's a sad thing because it spreads to the people around you.
Definitely does spread. I think everyone knows if you've got a friend or a family member that's always going to be saying, the doom and gloom and the world and this and that and everything that we all know anyway. But they're going to put that light on it, and that's how it's overwhelming. I find it really hard to be around people like that all the time. It's just too much. I can't take it.
No, it just gets you down.
I can't take it. Whenever I hear even just like casual conversations with people when it's just that.
Sometimes people are just venting, but I don't think it's very positive though.
No, they can vent. I mean, we all vent. Look at us two. Sometimes we say, let's stop moaning. Because all we do is like, have a moan.
They vent about stuff that it kind of goes on more than venting. It like takes their personality over.
Yeah. I think when it takes over, then that's when anxiety is just thrive.
Yeah.
And anxiety causes
it's like
disease.
a breeding ground for anxiety.
Yeah, it's like the worst of black, what's it called, the moss. the mold anxiety, you know, it's terrible because you may not even realize it's there, but it happens. Yeah. So you've got to become aware of it and say, oh, yuck. You know, let's let the sun in. Let's let the light in. Let's air out our minds, open the windows, do whatever you need to do to avoid this kind of anxiety, really, you know.
Yeah, because if you look at our pets, I mean, they're living in the same world as we are, and they're not anxious.
No, thank goodness they're not.
Sometimes they are. If they're living with anxious parents.
Exactly. If the pet parents are very anxious, that's
their human parents are anxious.
That's what I was thinking.
But in general, they're not. They're not like us because they're just living.
They're in the now,
in the moment, in the now. What's going on now?
Feed,
Am I going to get my din-din?
Yeah. That's why so many people envy them.
Well, I think that's a lesson we have to take from it. Yes, it's good to be like aware of all the concerns and everything that are going on, but sometimes it can be to be aware that it can be overwhelming, and that it's not necessarily what we need to be focusing on right now. And so if we focus on something that's going to be helpful to us, we're going to feel better.
And then what you're going to do is you're going to see more of it. You'll notice more of it. So if you say, oh yeah, it's a yucky day today, but I don't know, then you put that but and you add something. Oh, there's a ray of sun up there, or I don't know, I'm lucky to be able to go home now. My car's working. It's like you're jinxing it. It's not going to work anymore. I don't know. You say something, you know, like I feel I do that all the time. I don't know. Do you do that?
Well, no, not since I've had a new car, because I'm happy with it. Never had any problems.
My car's new now as well. But I mean,
when I used to have old cars, I wish you didn't.
Yeah, thank God it's going to work.
You weren't used to if you're going to get home or not.
Yeah, but in general, do you know what I mean?
In general, I do.
Yeah.
Obviously. I was just thinking though that like if you watch the news, they should have like 15 minutes of bad news, which is or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they should end it with 15 minutes of good news. Or when they tell the news, they should say so many people died in this, but then so many people were saved in this, because for everything unhappy or sad that happens, so many good things happen. It's like when you receive a nasty comment on say on your social media or something, you'll receive one nasty comment. You may have had like 1,000 or
positive
100 or
comments,
10 beautiful comments, and you'll get that one that's not nice, and you'll focus on it. Because our brains tend to focus on the doom and gloom to protect us. Already, it's a natural thing to look out, so to make sure we're protected.
So we have to look after ourselves. Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I was just thinking of something now. It slipped my mind. Yeah, it was following along those lines of what about the news, that in the end they actually do. Do you know, have you seen it, like in the BBC? They put the animals, it's like a few seconds. They show you a dolphin or a little koala bear. Yeah, and it's always a bit sad as well, because, the last koala.
That's not happy news.
Well, sometimes they say he's had a baby or something in the zoo and we're really happy, you know. This is a little bit of hope is they've had to put it in, haven't they?
Well, I don't know. I don't watch the news anymore, but
that's how it works. It still works like that today. I can't remember what I think it was a BBC News that started this whole thing, saying that it was like obligatory to put some animal or something that's a little bit calming at the end of every news.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah. So, my husband watches the news every now and then. I might just get a glimpse of right at the end, you'll see something about a show, or most of the time it's an animal. Some animal, something nice, you know, the pet that was saved, or the pet that saved to somebody, you know, something a little bit uplifting to give, you know, to not totally say, right, that's it. This is horror. And, you know, it's just doom and gloom. But yeah, so I think if we're aware that our brain does this, then we can help ourselves.
Well, we can program it, can't we?
We can kind of program it more to like look at different things, start noticing different things that are going to be helpful to us.
Some people say, because I remember when we first learned a neuro-linguistic program in hypnotherapy, they used to say, but people that like it, the naysayers that don't like it, they would say, but we're not computers. We have emotions. We have feelings. We have this. We have that. We don't want to be... Do you remember our friend used to tell us?
Yeah.
We don't want to be like a computer. Well, yeah, it's true. We do have feelings and we do have emotions and we do have everything. But if you think about it, it's going to be normal that what you see and what you live and how you experience your day is going to make you feel different. To whether if you experience positivity throughout your day, you're going to feel positive when you go to bed at night. If you experience the opposite because you're like searching for it, your mind is like going towards that anxiety and negativity. You are going to experience that. Because like now, I don't know why, but I was just thinking of someone that got divorced recently, and if they focus on the fact that they've left their partners and everything's doom and gloom, they're going to be really upset and sad.
Yeah.
Whereas if they focus on the fact that they had so many years of happy marriage and that they've got lovely kids and that their kids love them and they love their kids, you're going to end up still feeling great gratitude for having that in your life. So it's all about
there's always some moments that were in that relationship that were worth living.
It's always how we perceive our lives, to how we're feeling. So I think our brains are a bit like computers. It's a good analogy or metaphor for a brain, because in the end,
it's the input and the output, isn't it? What are you going to input? What kind of input are you going to give yourself today? And that input will result in the output. It's absolutely correct. That's what you get. It's what you think is in the end how you're going to feel, how your body's going to react, if you're going to get sick or if you're going to get better, and how it's all about what you're, it's what you're putting in. What kind of info are you putting in? What kind of what message are you giving yourself?
They say that comedians, they've usually had some.
Comedians.
I knew you were going to say, what's that got to do with anything? They say that comedians have usually had someone sad in their family.
Sad?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So that they're
it's
usually
like the Pierrot, isn't it?
They're usually the ones that try and make the person that was sad in their family happy. That's why they become comedians.
Oh, right.
Because that's like been their role, to make them happy.
The jolly person. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's that got to do with anything?
Got to do with it, because
do you think that person has had to focus?
The comedian has trying to change the algorithms of what's going on in their family. They're trying to change it.
The input, by giving them giving them other stuff to process.
Other stuff to process is going to make them laugh.
Humour. Yeah, I understand it. Yeah. I get it. Yeah, the comedian. Yeah, that they have to take that on because they have to lift the spirits of the rest of the clan, You'll
find it's often the case, is it?
Really? Yeah. Gosh. Yeah, you wouldn't think that. You would think they'd come from a rather jolly family when everyone was like cracking jokes all the time, and it was sort of like inherent, like DNA wise. And they say, oh, my father was a jolly one and my mum was always really humorous. But no.
I don't know. This is what someone said. It's another podcast I was listening to. I don't know how true it is.
No, I think
check it, because it's just it's just something that I
bet you anything it could be very, very true though. Yeah, because you know what children do. They try and
compensate, don't they?
They compensate, so they might try and see the funny side of things and help the caretaker, whoever it is. Yeah.
Sometimes kids try and act as the grown-ups, don't they? And they try and help solve their parents' problems when they see their parents can't cope.
And they use humour or they do something funny to attract attention so that in the end one of the people will laugh, the parents. And it will, take away a bit of the stress.
It'll take away the tensions.
Mm-hmm.
Because laughter does diffuse a lot of tension.
Laughter does indeed, yeah. If you, that's another good point. I think if you focus on, like what we were saying, you know, that kind of input, that algorithm, if you start watching comedies and things that are going to cheer you up, you know, you can choose comedies with on your whatever you're watching, you know, on your television shows. That's going to bring more humor into your life, and then you might even start thinking that your life is actually quite funny. And if you start looking at
funny side,
if you see the funny side, then that's brilliant.
Because in everything there's always that funny side, nearly, if you look for it.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's very funny indeed. Can be really funny if you look for it, yeah. Or if you focus on it, or you see it through that funny lens.
Yeah.
It always depends what lens you're going to look through, and what you're going to what part of that moment is your brain going to focus on. Every moment is composed of so many millions and millions of fractions of moments that we can only focus on one thing that happens within that 1 second. What is it going to be?
Yeah, I remember when I first learned about the flowers and the gardening, when I was into gardening quite a long time ago now, but I'd say 15 years ago or something.
When you first started.
And I learned about the hydrangeas, what they were called.
Yeah.
Hydrangeas.
Yeah.
I didn't know what they were called before.
No.
They were just flowers.
Flowers, yeah, we didn't know.
And I remember we had them in our garden, and I said to my husband, "Have you seen the hydrangeas?" And they were actually in bloom. They were beautiful.
Yeah, those blue ones,
the white ones,
gorgeous,
at the
yeah.
entrance. And he said, "What? Like, have you seen the flowers, the hydrangeas?" And he said, "No, I haven't noticed them." And I go, "They're massive. They're right in our garden, right at the front when you drive in."
Yeah, they're massive.
He hadn't noticed.
He hadn't seen them.
And so I actually showed them to him, and I said, "Look, these are the hydrangeas. They're beautiful. Look how lovely." And he goes, "Wow, they're really nice."
Only when you pointed
and I
them
go,
out.
"Have you noticed that we have these in our garden, and there's loads of them, because they're all around the garden."
They
because
had
I
loads of
planted
them, yeah.
Some were there, and some I planted afterwards. And he went round the garden and he found them, and I said, "This is what your brain does," because he wasn't aware of any of these studies that we were doing. And he was quite shocked. He was quite surprised.
Because maybe he just thought the garden had a few flowers in it. If you'd asked him, does your garden have flowers? I don't know, maybe, yeah. He was never really noticed. He would go to work, come back, park the car.
He knew there were flowers in the garden, but he didn't know they were hydrangeas, and he didn't know they were in bloom.
Right,
he hadn't noticed them.
He hadn't noticed them. As long as at least he knew there were flowers.
Well, he knew we had flowers because he knew I like gardening as well.
Yeah, right,
but I mean, you know you've got flowers, but how do you know when your cherry blossoms in bloom?
If you don't look for it.
No, if you don't.
Well, if I told my husband now, do you know the camellia's in blossom? He'd say, "What?"
Exactly.
The camellia, which one? I go, the one around the back.
I had to show my husband
yesterday.
The camellia.
He doesn't notice those things because it'll obviously be too much. He's got too much else going on to notice that as well. But if he did, he'd probably get a second of joy.
He would like it.
He would love it. When I show him, he says, "Oh yeah, it's lovely." But yeah, it's just really. I think about introducing those or noticing them. Really, it's about noticing them because they're always there.
Yeah,
they're present.
Think if you do a little test, if you look around your room and you actually notice what's actually there, you'll probably see a few things that you hadn't really seen before, you hadn't noticed before.
Yeah, just in the room you're actually in now.
Room, or if you look outside your window, you'll notice things that you hadn't noticed before that were there that are actually very beautiful.
Yeah, it might be just a twig on a tree and you think, "Gosh, that's gorgeous."
I noticed in the garden we've got a little well thing, like a little wishing well my husband had built. And I put some pansies in it at the beginning of the winter, not winter, it was like end of September or something. And I noticed that they were flowering really beautifully. And then the other day I looked over and I noticed that from the previous year, I believe,
you still had some.
No, some of the little well thing. Some had fallen onto these little cobbles underneath, and they'd actually grown into little plants, into little baby pansies.
How cute.
They're adorable. And they're actually little yellow
They'd
ones.
seeded
And
themselves.
they're self-seeded and grown into proper little plants. And there's hardly any soil there because it's just pebbles. There'll probably be a tiny little bit of soil that the wind has blown on it. And
Just
they've
the
managed
resilience to
thrive
live
and
and
survive and seed and
yeah.
grow into these beautiful little baby pansy plants.
That's an interesting observation.
And I'd actually pointed it out to my hubby, and he said it was really cute, but he hadn't noticed it.
No. Each mind notices different things.
And I
It's
get,
what you
for
like
instance,
and what
I get
you
a lot of
focus
pleasure
on.
from things like that because I think it's nature. We're all part of nature. We go back to nature. It gives me great comfort, and it helps me with any anxiety that I may have.
It helps me as well. Whenever I'm feeling anxious, I go out in the garden. Lucky enough, we've got the gardens here, so we can just go out.
Yeah, but I remember before.
But
when
before
I
it
didn't
was
have
a
garden, I
walk
would go
in
to
a
the
park. Yeah, definitely. I mean, in London, we would have parks. Luckily, where we grew up, there was parks. We were surrounded by lovely parks, and we go for these walks. Always off for a walk.
Otherwise, I remember
Beautiful.
going up the road and looking at other people's gardens and how beautiful they were.
Yeah. Noticing what was going on in there. Yeah, just being. I think being outside and remembering to notice these things is important. Because it kind of connects us, doesn't it? For me, it connects. And I think for most of us as well.
I think it does because it's...
We are nature, so we can't... It's not
It's been proven.
We are nature.
No, but it's scientifically proven that mindfulness and connecting with nature and going for walks actually helps with anxiety. So there's been millions of... millions, exaggeration. Lots of scientific studies on the matter. So we know it's true and we can feel it. And I'm sure if you go for a walk or you go and look in your garden or just notice how resilient nature is. Like it won't say no to growing amongst cobbles or in between concrete or...
It's very much like the human.
Yeah.
The human person, the human
There's
being.
nothing that stops us thriving and surviving if we want to. It's just our minds. When our minds get too anxious and too clogged up or ill, then really we need to ask for help. And we know we have all got an instinct for survival in there. So we have to... keep strong
and connect again.
Connect and focus on the positive and change the algorithms in our mind by focusing on beautiful, calm, natural things that will help us.
Simple things like, you can just even look up at the sky and just notice a cloud for a few seconds. People, if you ask how many people today in a group of 30, how many people have looked up at the sky today and noticed one cloud? Most people will say nobody's noticed it. Nobody. So it's just such an easy thing. You just, when you're walking, just look up a minute and you'll see that cloud, or you'll notice something else that you haven't noticed. It's there. It's just that your brain is deleting it, and you're not able to receive that moment. But if you allow for it and you become aware of it, then you will see it. You will notice it. And it will help. It will help you feel less anxious.
So let us know what you're going to be noticing today and tomorrow and in the days and weeks to come. And change your algorithms if you're not finding them very productive.
Yeah, absolutely. Change them.
You
notice
can get very
different
excited
things.
And very
motivated
and very happy about going into 2023 and with a really good start to it. Join our family, join us on Instagram, Facebook, wherever you get your podcast, and do come and say hi. Lots of love and smiles from the English sisters. Bye-bye.